And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Also want to welcome those that are tuning in on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Thank you all so much again for being with us as well. If you guys are new to us here on Amazon Live, definitely invite you guys to give us a follow. You'll notice a follow button either in this corner or down below us. Also beneath us, you'll notice we have featured the book of our next guest. We're excited to welcome Robert Gwaltney to our program today. He's the author of this book, TheCicadaTree. You guys can see it there. I have the print edition highlighted there for $18 there on Amazon, or you can be able to get the Kindle edition. You guys can see it there for $6.99. We're going to talk to Robert not only about the writing of the book, but also what it's been like for him to share these characters with all of us. And of course, we'll let you guys know how to stay connected with him as well. Robert, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
The pleasure's definitely on mine. I was saying to you before we went on here, I feel like I know you already because we've been connected on social for a while. But the book is officially out, and the response has been amazing. What has it been like for you, Robert, to have lived with these characters and now to be able to give them to us, the readers?
Yeah, it's very interesting because I suppose as a writer, and this is my debut novel, so I suppose I expected that people would actually read it, but it's been a very interesting experience to have people I know and other writers read my work. It's nerve-wracking, and I've lived with these characters for a few years now, and I've loved them very much, and some of them I love to hate, and it's just wonderful to have them out in the world for other people to experience them.
Robert, it's so interesting to hear you say that because I think I was saying to you before we went on, I mean, the book is called TheCicadaTree. And I think that the thing is about this book is, of course, cicadas are a part of it. And anyone probably in my neck of the woods here in Mississippi, or of course, around the South, we're very familiar with cicadas. If you've never seen one, you've definitely heard them. But I think there is such a great thing there about the characteristics of the characters when it comes to the cicada. What has that been like for you to play with, to have these literal characters being the cicadas, but also the characteristics that your human characters kind of pick up on?
Right. So, yeah, when I was writing the Cicada Tree, I sort of created this cicada mythology. There's this sense that you've got these nymphs that are living beneath the surface. They're listening to what's going on above. They're ingesting everyone's secrets, only to rise to the surface and to expose them and to right wrongs. And you're right, in a way. Young Annelise, is the 11-year-old protagonist, is very early on in the novel, she meets the Mayfield family, and there's this obsession that ensues. And really, through the course of the story, you're able to learn that most people in the town of Providence aren't who and what they seem to be.
Yeah, such a great point. Hello to you, Susan. Susan, good to see you over there on the Facebook side. Robert, she says, I found you. I've been looking forward to this, Robert. And I think, for people who are just discovering the book, I think, again, the layers of it are so much fun. I'm going to actually share a passage a little bit later, Robert, that I think really goes to the heart of what you just said. So talk to us then about this journey for you. This is your debut novel. Is storytelling something, Robert, that you always knew that you wanted to do?
From the third grade, I thought it might be possible. I grew up in a small town called Cairo, Georgia, and I was in Miss Glenda Morton's third grade class, and she actually had one of our classmates whose mom was an author, and I had no idea. And she came to speak to us about what it was like to be a writer. And at that point, I just sort of imagined that authors were sort of like unicorns. They lived in far off places, and they didn't dwell amongst us. So it was that moment in the third grade that I thought, gosh, I could probably be a writer too. It's just one of those early childhood experiences that really, I think, helped set me on the course to want to tell stories.
Yeah. And now here you are doing exactly that. So I want to ask you this when it comes to this journey for you, Robert, because I think as people are being introduced to the book, again, we're going to remind them how they can also stay connected with you. One of the things that we see, and you mentioned Annelise, that we are able to see is you mentioned her fascination with this family. I think part of what I saw in the book, again, is the idea of actually being seen, right? Or actually feeling like you're a part of something. What was that like for you to explore as well? Because in this book, we see that, either someone who wants to be a part of the light, or at least to benefit from the light, or of course the challenges that can come for those who are in the light. What was that like for you to play with that dynamic?
Sure. So I think that it's a universal experience. All of us can understand what it's like to have been a younger person and to have been fascinated with a person or a group of people, and
Yeah.
always feeling sort of on the outside looking in. And so I think that I was able to sort of pull from from some of my own experiences in life, being fascinated with the golden people, if you will. And it was just one of those things that for me was very interesting to play with, especially from a young girl's perspective. The playground politics of small town South Georgia.
Did you feel as though, since you brought up the place, did you feel as though the place was almost a character even in itself as well? I mean, I know, regardless of thinking where our audience may be from, we where we are from kind of has its own kind of personality, right? Or is known for something. Was that also something that you knew was going to be a part of the Cicada Tree when you were writing it?
Yes, I think that when you write Southern fiction, Cyrus, the South is always going to be a character, and the town
Yeah.
within it, from where you're telling the story, is always going to be a character as well. So yeah, I always knew that the South and that this fictitious town of Providence would be central characters in the Cicada Tree.
And I think too, as it kind of unfolds, we're able to see not only, of course, this family being, their idea of who they are being shed, but also Annelise. There's a great progression of Annelise in the book as well. What was that like for you? I mean, well, maybe I should ask this question, Robert, because you and I haven't discussed this before. How did Annelise come to you? How did you come to create her?
So the Cicada Tree actually started as a totally different novel. I had started to write a story that was going to take place in the 1970s, and the protagonist was going to be a little boy who was 11 years old. His mother's name was Annelise. And as I was a few chapters into the novel, Annelise was so fascinating to me as an adult. And she was making these really interesting choices. And she had a very interesting dynamic with her 11-year-old son. So I just started, I started to ask the questions, well, what happened to you as a child?
Mm,
What made you this way? And then that really was the birth and impetus for me to begin the Cicada Tree.
wow. And so now you're able to kind of share a bit of her story. Susan says the young protagonist and Elise and the use of the cicadas and the whole Southern Gothic vibe makes me think of Lily Owens in The Secret Life of Bees. That's quite a compliment there. Yeah, Robert, I mentioned to you before we went on here that you've been doing a lot of these conversations, what I typically call interviews. A lot. What has that been like for you to hear different perspectives of what people pick up on in a book and what kind of draws them in as a reader?
Sure. Well, first, I want to say hello to Susan Cushman, who is a friend and an amazing author as well. And I did. And what's interesting, she referenced Secret Life of Bees. If I were to give you a comparative statement on the Cicada Tree, I would say that it's Sue Monk Kids, The Secret Life of Bees meets Shirley Jackson's We've Always Lived in the Castle. That was sort of the comparison. But it is. Oh my gosh, it has been amazing to hear people who read the book and want to discuss it and to have their own insights into the book, and sometimes really bringing some things to my attention that I might not have considered along the way. But I think that writing is a very lonesome experience, and being able to connect with readers, I mean, that to me has just been the greatest gift in this journey.
And I think that is one of the cool things about storytelling is that the creator of the story is able to bring to life these characters and situations, and we as readers are able to kind of interpret them. I always think of it, Robert, almost like when you hear a song, and then you kind of picture in your mind what the song's about, and then you see their video for the artist, like that's not what I picture.
Right.
But they both work. They both work for sure. I would say for those who are just tuning in, either on Amazon Live or other platforms, you're watching Cyrus Webb Presents. We're speaking today with Robert Gwaltney. We're talking with him about this book, The Cicada Tree. We have it highlighted there in the carousel. Today's show is being powered by BiteCool. That is the laptop that we're using here on Amazon Live. BiteCool now has this laptop. If you're doing any type of streaming or any type of work or, of course, gaming, ByteCool is one of those computers that definitely comes in handy. I'm going to highlight it there on the Amazon Live side. This one actually comes with Windows 10 Pro, but it also does come with a free upgrade for Windows 11. So it's great for being able to read books online or to be able to do your work online. That's by ByteCool. Also, I mentioned that Robert's book is available on Amazon Kindle as well. You can get the Kindle edition. The Fire 7 right now is on sale on Amazon. We have it highlighted there in the carousel there on the Amazon Live side. If you guys are looking for a new Kindle, if you're picking up Robert books or others, it's $69.99 right now for the Fire 7 Amazon Kindle there. And again, as I mentioned, Robert's book is available in print. I have this one as well as the Kindle edition. We'll remind you of that as we're going throughout our segment. I want to share this one passage, Robert, that really, to me, says a lot about the characters, but also I think about the cicada tree overall. It's in chapter 23, and the character's name pronounced Cordelia or
Yes.
Cordelia?
Cordelia.
And this is one of the statements that Cordelia says, and I think it is so interesting. She said, a woman can be just as good as a man at concealing things. And I think, again, that goes to what I was saying earlier about how the interesting comparison with the cicada and, being able to shed off, that former skin and to kind of reveal something else. We kind of see that with these characters, right? What was it like for you to give her that line? And then I think the bigger, picture and statement that's said about these characters and how there is more to them than meets the eye.
So, in the Cicada Tree, really, the central characters are all women, and men really play a secondary role in the novel. And so Cordelia, in a way, is an antagonist. She and her daughter both, Marlissa, and she's a bit of a villain early on. You learn her story and who she is and why she is the way she is by the conclusion of the novel. But I knew that I wanted to sort of pepper her in the novel sparingly. I did just enough. I wanted there to be an air of mystery about her. So every time that I gave her dialogue, I wanted it to be very impactful. So I had to really think, if she's going to be spare on the page, what are those really important, curious, odd things that she might say or do that will pique the reader's interest? So I loved writing Cordelia Mayfield. I love a good villain. Love a good villain.
And what was that like for you to have Annelise be so infatuated by them? And I think even though we're talking about this book and you're kind of taking us back in time, I think it could really, in some respects, be like we see the social media culture today or pop culture, right? People being so fascinated by those who are getting that limelight. What was that like for you to kind of see what Annelise learned, I'll put it that way, about I guess the old adage that all that glitters is not gold?
Sure. I think in novels with characters, they're on sometimes this hero's journey, and you want the stakes to be high, and you want them to change in some way across the course of a story. And so what a person needs and what they want are oftentimes not the same. So very early on, we know what Annalise wants. And she herself is somewhat intuitive. She knows that in a way that she's playing with fire. She's told this by a person who's very close to her, Miss Wessie, who is a grandparent figure in the household. So it's she can't help herself. She just keeps moving toward the flame, and she can't seem to win. She can't seem to catch a break. And to me, that was a lot of fun to write.
We have a question here on the Facebook side, Robert, from Jacob. Jacob, hello to you on Facebook. Jacob says, "Hi, Robert. Jacob here. What were some of your favorite writers growing up? The Cicada Tree is one of the best debut novels I've ever read from a debut author ever." That's quite a compliment, Jacob. So, Robert, who were some of your favorite authors?
So I grew up, I think early on, I write Southern Gothic, but early on, I loved the Bronte sisters. I loved Wuthering Heights. I loved Jane Eyre. Dickens, I was exposed to at a very young age. Great Expectations is a favorite. One of my all-time favorite fictitious characters is Miss Havisham. Love her. I think she's amazing. Truman Capote, the plays of Tennessee Williams. Today, you know, I enjoy William Gay, Michael Cunningham. My tastes are pretty diverse. But growing up, I would say again, I was fascinated with the Brontes. I loved them, and Dickens.
Have you always been a fan of history, Robert? Is that something that's always been a part of you?
Um, yes, I think that it's part of the human condition to always romanticize times that have long since passed. They always seem to us to be simpler. And for me, I don't. I think that I could probably write a story in present time, but it's just not that interesting to me. I rather
Mm,
look back to yesterday, I think.
got you, got you. So when we're talking about the cicada tree, and we're I'm talking around things, of course, because we want people to be able to enjoy it for themselves, and then be able to, of course, to bring their own thoughts to it. So I definitely invite others who've already read the book, definitely continue to share your thoughts on Amazon. I know Robert would appreciate that, knowing your thoughts. Was this the book that you wanted to write? I know you said that direction changed when you uh, kind of were intrigued with Annelise, but when you finished writing The Cicada Tree, did you feel as though you had told the story you wanted to tell, Robert, or did you feel like there was more you'd like to explore with it?
So I do think that I think I accomplished what I set out to accomplish in the Cicada Tree. And I look at writing a novel like being in a relationship. If you're going to write a story, you need to commit to it because you're going to be with it for a very long time. So I did hope that I would be able to accomplish what I set out to accomplish, and basically that was just to write the novel that I've been looking for that I've not been able to find. So you hope that other people are going to love it and that it might have some commercial appeal. But when I wrote it, it really was just, a story and thematically of what's near and dear to my heart and a story that I would be looking for in a bookstore.
So let's widen out a little bit, Robert. I've been mentioning some of the comments over on the Facebook side, and as I said, the reviews are already coming in. I know you've been engaging with people online. What has that part of the journey been like for you? The book is written, so now you're in this part now, being able to talk about it. So what has this part been like for you, to kind of be literally out front and center, and being able to talk about this book that is your debut novel?
It's been a learning and growth curve for me because prior to the novel coming out, I've not had a lot of experience talking about the process of writing.
Mm,
So I've had I'm getting more secure with it, but I early on, it's a bit terrifying. But right before we went live here, I'm taking some deep breaths and just trying to calm myself and say, okay, I can do this. I wrote this book. Who else can talk about it better than me?
right.
But I'm enjoying it. I love that the first of all, the fact that someone would pick up my book, take the time to read it in our busy modern world means so much to me. And especially when they take the time to reach out and to say thoughtful things about it. So to me, this is a lovely experience.
And for yourself, of course, readers, we're very selfish. We read a book that may have taken you a while to write. I think it took me about a week, but just with daily life going on. I think it took me about a week to read The Cicada Tree myself. But the question is always, and I'm sure you're already getting, well, when's the next one coming out? What's next? Are you feeling the pressure of the what's next at this point? Or are you just enjoying the accomplishment of the Cicada Tree now being available for people to enjoy now?
Well, so the promotion piece, certainly takes up a significant amount of time, and I'm looking forward to being able to get back in the writing saddle. I I started another novel, um, and when I was in the midst of editing the Cicada Tree with the publisher, I wrote an epilogue that was not original to the story, which they liked and we felt that we needed. And it was then when I reconnected with my characters that I thought, I wonder what happened to Annelise. What would her life be like at age 14 and Etta May's at 13? Um, what's happened to the world of Providence, Georgia? And I have an idea, and I think that I'm probably going to do a follow up. And if I'm lucky, maybe this time next year I'll have a draft ready to to see if anyone might be interested in taking on.
Awesome. Well, that gives us something to look forward to. In the meantime, though, we do invite you guys to get your copy of The Cicada Tree. You guys see it there. As I mentioned, here on Amazon, it is available in Kindle for $6.99, or you can get the print edition for $18 there. Definitely invite you guys to pick it up, give it a read, and definitely share your thoughts as well. And Robert, how can they stay connected with you?
Sure. Well, so they can visit me at robertlgwaltney.com, and the links to all of my social media are there, Facebook and Instagram.
All right. Well, Robert, congratulations again to you. So glad we had a chance to chat about the book, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Thank you, Cyrus. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, same here. Same here. We thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Again, if you guys are on the Amazon Live side, make sure you guys give us a follow. We have programming here 7 days a week here on Amazon Live. Again, that follow button will either be here in this corner or down below, depending on what platform you're joining us on, either on your phone or a desktop or laptop. Also, keep in mind that if you guys are watching the replay, Robert's books are down below in the carousel. You'll be able to click on those to be able to order it for yourself. Until next time, I'm Cyrus Webb saying thank you all for watching. We'll see you all again soon. Take care.